Hello, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me in another of my wonderful monologues. Wonderful monologues. I was a bit nervous on saying that. Hang on, I'm just going to grab my tea. It's just over there, look. I've been reading, as you can see, if I can balance that precariously without knocking it off, the light paper. It's gone pink. They've gone pink this edition. But I don't know why. But anyway, interesting arguments and debates and subjects and all of that sort of stuff that they talk about in there. The crime and policing bill that's going through to silence people like myself and many others who want to talk. Divinity being superseded by technology in a brave world. People are using AI as if it's God and taking it at liberty. And by the way, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday who was saying about the digital world. He said there's no such thing as a digital world. It's all analog, because actually all the digital computers and everything else that uses this so-called digital technology, it all uses electricity, and it has to keep the voltage between, I can't remember what he said now, something like between 2 volts and 5 volts. And if it fluctuates between those, it will fail. I thought that's very interesting. So we had a nice, interesting debate about how you could, assist things like 5G to have perhaps a little bit too much electricity in this way and a little bit too much electricity in that way to maybe, stop it from radiating people's brains. Let's put it in a harmless way like that, to help people. Obviously, we want to help people. Anyway, the light paper is out, and it's a very good read. The other thing I wanted to announce in today's, before I get on to the main topic of conversazione, is another event that's going on that you might be interested in coming along. This is the Open Minds annual event at the Royal Oak in Mayfield, which I believe is in Derbyshire, or somewhere up north anyway. Saturday the 12th of July, so in a couple of weeks' time, something like that. The bowler hat farmer will be there doing his bowler hat Fork the System. Andrew Bridgen will be there, John O'Looney is there, of course, and myself will be there if you fancy coming along and having a little nose at what's going on. Information on the screen. Help yourself, come along and have a lovely freedom-y time to express yourself and talk with like-minded people in that area if you so wish. Now, today's video is it's inspired again by an email that I got from a gentleman who has a family, and they live abroad. And they said, we have reasons wanting to come back to well, they said the United Kingdom, of course, but let's pretend they said England, Wales, Scotland, or, the landmass we call Britain. Let's not talk about a corporation, because the UK is just that. It's just a corporation. Nobody wants to come back to that, do they? Not really. Not real people, surely. But anyway, he wanted to come back to this landmass we call Britain. And he said, is there a way that I can come back now, because I've been away for so long, I've got a family, and basically the system over here doesn't know about him or the family. Can I come back into the country and remain out of the system? And he says, is there any good books, or is there any good websites or people I can talk to in order to, not have to be registered? He says, I appreciate I'll probably have to have a bank account of some description, but I'd rather not. I'd rather just deal all in cash. I may buy something off-grid and may do an Airbnb or something like that to earn a little bit of money. Of course, buying land might be a bit problem, and that would be interesting from our point of view, because the lovely Julia and I, we've got some land to look at. We've been looking at some bits and pieces and parcels of land for a potential disappearance onto and live. We still obviously do the show, fear not, my gentle listener and viewer. And so that was an interesting concept. And any of those, that whole parameter about being out of the system. And also, he said, I'm curious because my child hasn't been registered. I don't want to register my child in the system. Now, I've made videos about this, and actually in my forthcoming book, which is soon to be released, Biggleswick, the town that would not comply, there is a little piece about not registering a child. A character has a baby, and they're debating what they should do, whether they should register a child into the system, what it would mean, and what would happen if they didn't. And you can read all about that when it comes out. It's coming out fairly soon. Anyway, that's an interesting observation. Now, you may also remember, let me have a slurp of my tea, please, let me, thank you. You may also remember I interviewed the very lovely Victoria Rickson on the channel, the midwife who whistle blew. And she said, if you remember listening to it, if you didn't see it, check it out, it's on the channel. She said that what happens is that the placenta is the thing that gets registered. She said there is a system that they do at the NHS, public enemy number one. They go and register the placenta for the Crown Corporation in the name, in the surname that, you know, the mum and dad, the parents, as it were, do. Julia is very kindly creeping around the camera to turn off you may have heard that little bleep just now. Thank you very much, Julia. This is, you know, Amateurville television, and we do it in the best Amateurville stance as we possibly can, smoking a pipe and filming in, you know, difficult situations. The bombs are dropping left, right and centre all around us. The truth bombs, that is. And my pipe keeps going out, which is a bloody irritating thing. There we go, puffing Billy at his best. So, what would you advise, my gentle viewer watching by the fireside, keeping yourself warm, or cooling yourself by the pool, drinking your asperspiranti, whatever it's called, to stay out of the system? If you were coming into this country for the very first time and you didn't want to be part of anything, you didn't want your kid to go to school, you didn't want to be part of the NHS, public enemy number one, you didn't want to you haven't got a pension to worry about, you're not going to take child benefit, you're not going to take any of those things, you just don't want to pay all the, I mean, obviously if you had to buy things in cash, unfortunately we still get stymied by the VAT, which I thought was set up when we went into the EU, and now that we've come out of the EU, how come we're still paying it? But everything has a tax value on it, and of course we know in the future, if they are permitted to carry on with their dynamic plans, they will remove all bills and things, and we'll all be paying individually at individual price points. We can see that's coming with the advent of facial recognition, facial recognition. I did say it right, didn't I? You know what I'm saying. And AI and the ability to sort of, you know, nosy into your bank account and take the money and price things. Anyway, all of that. How would you get out of the system? That's the question that I'm posing today. If you were one of those people, because I'm sure there's plenty of people in the system here now, that's true, trying to throw themselves out of the system and say, I'm not a person, I am not a dead entity, I am not an ens legis, I am a soul in a body. And I don't want to be part of a system that is corrupt and fraudulent and not actually has my best interest at heart. And why would you? Why would you want to fall into that trap of receiving internal mail in a windowed envelope? Why would you want to be in that system? You wouldn't really, would you? But people have been duped into thinking it. So if you're managing to come over here and, you know, land, I mean, there's a lot of people coming over in rubber boats, are there not? But let's say you come over in a small little sailing dinghy instead of a rubber boat, and if you came into this country and you just sort of, you know, leapt up the beach, could you disappear? And could you just have a normal, everyday, quiet, God-fearing life in a way without being touched by the system? Be interested in your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. And if you did, if you didn't, well, you missed out on another exciting episode. Until next time, thanks for watching. Goodbye.